Today we have we're very excited to have this conversation with you. We have a very, very good speaker. And I don't want to waste time. I want to go right into it so that Anne can get started. So I would like to go ahead and introduce Anne to you. So we bring you Anne Eriksson, former regional senior partner and CEO at Pricewaterhouse, where she worked for the last 40 years. Anne has a very impressive corporate career at Pricewaterhouse, where she was a partner and a leader of firsts. She was the first African woman to make partner at the age of 28. And she was responsible for the assurance business in East. So that includes Kenya, where she was also a country senior partner, Uganda, Tanzania, and Rwanda, and in the West, Nigeria, Ghana, and Angola. As I said, she was a leader of firsts. She was also the first female in Africa to hold the role of regional senior partner and CEO. And I'll just let that sink for a minute. This for me was very impressive. She covered 6 countries: Kenya, Mauritius, Tanzania, Uganda, Rwanda, and Zambia. And together with her leadership team, she developed the strategy that would enable the region to deliver the overall Africa strategy for Pricewaterhouse. During her tenure as regional senior partner and CEO, she was able to create an inclusive and empowered organization where both male and female employees could realize their careers. She championed some initiatives to support parents, male and female, who needed to balance their work life and build a family through policies such as returning to work, flexible hours, and taking a career break. She also designed the nursing mother's room. Being a new mother, for me, this was big, which is a key feature of the firm's offices, not just in Kenya, but in the East African region. So she supported the theme that the strength of an organization such as Pricewaterhouse was founded on engagement and relationship that staff have with the organization and its clients. Anne has also served on different boards in different capacities. I'll just name the boards. So there's the American Chamber of Commerce, British Chamber of Commerce, Mkenya Daima, Initiative under KEPSA, Endeavor Kenya, African Asset Finance, KCB Group, Kenya and South Sudan, M-Pesa Foundation, Jumia Technologies, Africa Local Currency Bond Fund, CMA, ISPAC, amongst others. Having all this experience makes her the right person to lead this discussion today as we learn how to unleash the leader in us by leveraging on emotional intelligence. Anne, I'd like to ask you to start your conversation with the ladies, and I hope I did you justice in that introduction.
Absolutely. Thank you. Thank you very much, Christine, and good afternoon, ladies. Recognizing that some of you may be dialing in from beyond the Kenyan borders, it could be morning, it could be evening, wherever you are, good day. And Christine and Rosalind, thank you very, very much for having me this afternoon. A pleasure and indeed a privilege to engage with your members. More importantly, to engage with women leading in the field of banking and finance. So when Christine and Rosalind asked me to engage with you this afternoon, I asked, what do you want us to engage on? And they gave me 2 options, and I very quickly settled on this one. And I'm hopefully gonna have what I hope will be a conversation. In that I do have one slide, which I will use as a basis of my discussion with you. And then thereafter, hopefully we can engage, we can ask, reflect, ask questions. I may not have all the answers, but I'll certainly try, drawing on the experiences that I've had and that I continue to have. And so what I was asked to talk about is unleashing the leader in you by leveraging on emotional intelligence. And I'll ask Rosalind to please go to the first slide. And as I said, I only have one slide. And the slide will take us through about 9 areas. And the first area I wanted to talk about is that actually, in my opinion, you can become anything that you want to be. I think the key is wanting it enough so that you can work for it. And so, in my opinion, it starts with you. It starts with you because you can't expect others to imagine and believe what it is that you want to be, what your aspirations are, and therefore to propel you to get there. And therefore, I believe that as a leader, it is important to put yourself in the shoes of your reportee or your team and ask yourself, do you see the leader? Do you see the leader and the person that you are aspiring to be? It's almost like looking at yourself in the mirror and asking yourself, is that the leader? Is that the person that I want to be? So we start from there. And then if we could just move on to the next slide, Rosalind. And this is in no particular order. And I tried to draw on my experiences, and I believe the environment and areas that you are operating in. And I said, I think one of the most powerful ways to learn and one of the most powerful ways to grow is to learn from mistakes. In my opinion, it's an excellent learning opportunity. And I would say, learn well from your mistakes. And not just the leader, but also the team or the reportees or the people that have been part of that situation. And so what I would like to ask you, and maybe something you can think about and hopefully you can share with us at the end of the session, is just reflecting on a situation where there was a mistake. Perhaps you made a mistake, and how did you recover from it? What did you learn from it? How did you interact with that situation? How did your team members interact with that situation? How did they feel after that situation? How have you prospered or otherwise after that situation? So I go back to the point that learning comes from different angles. It's not really just from being in class or going through formal sessions such as this. Learning can come from what you yourself do, indeed from mistakes. If we could then move on to the next slide. And my next slide is now starting to be perhaps a little bit more tangible. And it is to challenge us as women leaders, because we are all leaders. How do you offload baggage? In my experience, in my professional experience, and I did work with many colleagues, men and women, I believe women carry baggage on their sleeves. And because we do, I think often those emotions come through in the interactions we have in the workplace. May it be with your teams, may it be with your customers, may it be with your colleagues. But I'm told men, on the other hand, and that's my experience, I've seen it in action. If a man has a bad day or has encountered a difficult situation, what they'll do is at the end of the day, instead of going home, they'll probably marshal their colleagues, their friends, and go for a drink, perhaps at their local. So that by the time they get home, they've actually forgotten what the issue was. And certainly by the time they come to work the following morning, it's history. On the other hand, we as women, what do? We really take issues, I think, quite seriously and carry them with us. The converse of the example I've just given would probably be a case where the woman will go home with this big issue that is on their mind. It will eat into them into the night, through the night. They'll come back to work in the morning. It's still there. It's still bugging them. They have not offloaded.
Anne, is there any way you can turn up your volume?
Uh-huh.
Thank you.
Okay, can you hear me better now? Is that any better?
Irene, is that?
I hear Anne very clearly.
Oh, okay, so maybe it's Irene's. Irene, please check the volume on your computer. Thanks. Okay, Anne.
Okay. Yeah, I think I have maximum volume everywhere. So let's have a go at this. If it continues being a problem, let me know, then maybe I have to switch gadgets. And so my challenge to us as women is, how do we offload our baggage? Have you invested in social activities? May that be a chama, may that be your old school friends, may that be those people that actually hold you true to who you are. Or are you just too busy meeting deadlines? Do you have a hobby? What do you do in your spare time? What do you do for me time? Do you have me time? In fact, how do you recharge for the following week? Because if you don't, then at one stage or another, something will give. And those emotions will start to come through in your day-to-day work. And so, may I request we all go on mute, because otherwise it will be difficult for others to hear. Thank you. That it is very important that we purposefully offload baggage, purposefully recharge, purposefully just switch off from the day-to-day. The area of finance and banking is very high tempo. If you do not deliberately create opportunities to offload, to recharge, I think it can catch up with you, and it will start to show, and it will start to come through in how you interact with your teams, with your colleagues, with your customers. And it could potentially compromise your ability to become the true leader that you want to be, that others see in you or others expect you to be. So that's about offloading baggage. If we could then move on to the next slide, it's around teamwork. And here I want to draw on an African proverb, which I'm sure many of you have come across. And I think it goes something like this. If you want to go fast, go alone. But if you want to go far, go together. But other than the African proverb, I also want to draw on sports. I'm not aware of any sport where you're best on your own. Even sports such as golf, even sports such as the marathon, I believe it is not a singular effort. It is a team effort. When Kipchoge Keino, when Eliud Kipchoge breaks the records that he breaks, he of course puts in a lot of personal effort, but there are others around him that support him, that work with him to achieve the feats that he achieves. So what I'm trying to say here is that as a leader, we must think team, because team brings great rewards. That if your team believes in your vision and that they trust you, they will go that extra mile to support you and to support you to achieve your objectives. If they don't, they'll do just enough to get by. They'll do just enough to meet those objectives. So my question to you as a leader, and we are all leaders in this room, do you credit your team for the job well done and take blame for shortcomings? Do you give timely, honest, and candid feedback? Is it about me, or is it about team? From my experience, it's team. In my professional career, we served many organizations. And normally as a partner, or as the lead, you would be the one engaging perhaps with the C-suite. But to actually have the material to engage with that C-suite, you will have had a battery of people working with you. When that interaction goes well, when you deliver that project well, it's not you, the leader, it's actually the team. Take time to immediately go back and engage with your team. When you have been in that board meeting, making your presentation, I believe it is not your presentation, it is your team's presentation. How well the team will receive feedback that, this is the reaction we got from the board. These are the comments we got from the board. And thank you for this and thank you for that. Do we do enough of that? Because that's the same team that you will draw on tomorrow, next week, and the week after. So I am a great believer that as you aspire to grow as a leader, think team, bring team with you. So that's team. I then wanted to move on to the next discussion. And it's a discussion around respect. And, the slide says, if you give respect, you will get respect. But then I go further to say, respect cannot be bought. It must be earned. It is earned. And it is earned over time. In my view, seniority or a grade does not buy you respect. The fact that I was the regional senior partner did not entitle me to any respect from anybody in my team in any of the countries that I worked. If I earned any respect, hopefully it was because of the interactions and because of whatever effort I put into earning that respect. So what is your leadership style? Do you collaborate? Do you develop your teams? How do they benefit from you as a leader? Are you the leader that says there's a deadline, we have a board meeting next week, there's this paper that needs to go to the board 5 days before the meeting or 7 days before the meeting? Thou unto you, if that report is not on my desk 7 days before the board meeting? Or are you the leader that will engage with the team? You provide proper guidance as to what you hope as a team to present to the board, and really put them or chart them on the right course, and check with them to find out if they're on the right course, if they need help, if they need support. Do you get your hands dirty? Do you get involved in what it is that you're trying to do as a team? because you're a leader of a team. You're not a leader of yourself. And so I'm a strong believer that a leader doesn't know it all. A leader must be open to learning and learning all the time. I was always amazed by the new graduate hires that we hired every year in PwC. They always came with fresh ideas, new ideas, different ways of doing things. And I would always take the time when I interacted with my team in the field to engage one-on-one with most of the team members. And I was always intrigued by the energy, the drive, particularly the new team members had. I always had something to learn. And not from a technical standpoint, perhaps from a relationship standpoint, from what drives them, what makes them tick, what motivates them. So as a leader, are you investing enough time to learn what makes your team tick? Therefore, what support you can give them and how you can get and achieve the best of your team. I believe only in doing so, or by doing so, amongst other things, you earn their respect and they will give you respect. More importantly, they benefit and learn from you because hopefully you've got more experience. You know it more technically, hopefully. And it can't be just you're a leader by name, by title. Are you a leader in substance? And being a leader in substance means being part of the action, being part of the fray. So that is about respect. If we then move on, I then say, as a leader, it is important to be and to stay true to yourself. There is no other you. And that is actually what is unique about you, just you. In my view, one shouldn't try to be someone else. Be authentic, be reliable, keep your word. Because these are the attributes that those working with you, for you, will value and will want you to deliver. They are the attributes that will contribute to them wanting to wake up in the morning and come to work. They are the attributes that will cause a team member to reflect on, yeah, I said that last week. We engaged with my manager on this basis. This was the conclusion. This was the stand. And if you keep your word, if you are reliable, you will not say one thing today and another thing tomorrow. So if you engage with your team member and you agree on a position, do you then go into the boardroom or do you go into an EXCO meeting or a management meeting and take a different position? What sort of a leader then are you? What are the attributes that you are displaying both to yourself, to your colleagues, and to those that report to you and rely on you? So when we talk of emotional intelligence, I think we've got to look at this in its entirety, in as wide a construct as possible. It is the space we occupy. And before I proceed, let me just check again with Christine. Can I be heard?
Yes, I think everyone can hear you.
Okay, thank
Haven't
you.
got any complaints yet, yes.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. So staying true to yourself, because that helps others relate with you, interact with you, engage with you. Let's then move on and talk about reinforcement. And here I'm actually going to draw on something I read by Sunny Bindra. Sunny Bindra used to be a colleague many years ago. He now runs a very successful leadership development outfit. And he writes in the Sunday column, the daily Sunday Nation, every Sunday, and has done so for many, many years. And not too long ago, he had an article about positive reinforcement versus negative attention. And I thought this was actually very apt in this conversation that we're having. Because many a times we try, we work really hard, we put in many hours. How many of you have been in that situation? You've worked on that document, you've worked on that project, you've put in hours, you probably didn't even go to sleep. And then you hand it in the morning to your manager, and all you get is criticism. Why didn't you do this? How did this, And it would seem that praise and positivity, in some cases, can be very rare and difficult to come by. So I guess what one should ask themselves as a leader, what happens to that person or to that team that you're criticizing? What they'll do is be on flight mode and perhaps fear mode. They'll be fearful as opposed to being hopeful. And I think research has shown that positive reinforcement is 30 times more powerful than criticism or than negative attention. So put it another way, if you focus on the good things and the positive things of your team, of your reportees, and encourage those and build on those, you're bound to get more out of that person, grow that person, provide hope and development to that person a lot more than if you constantly pay attention to what it is they don't do well. I say this from personal experience. Whether it is your child, some of us here may have children. In my case, I even have grandchildren. We have colleagues. We have employees. Even put yourself in the shoes of getting feedback. Where it is criticism, how do you feel? Where it is encouragement with development thrown in, it leaves you with hope. It leaves you feeling positive. I think all human beings like feeling valued. And so as a leader, how do you leave your team after an engagement? Do you leave them hopeful or do you leave them fearful? And if you leave them fearful today, how does that manifest itself tomorrow, day after, week after? So Rome wasn't built in a day. It was built over days, months, years. It is a collection of those actions that then define the relationship between you as a leader and your team. So positive reinforcement versus negative attention. That doesn't mean that you don't highlight areas of development. It is, how do you do it? So moving on, I wanted to talk about how we as women project ourselves And I would want to put it out there that I think what we should do is project our merit as opposed to our gender. Many organizations today are intentionally creating a lot of space for women to grow. And my proposition is, please earn the space. Don't occupy the space because you are a woman. Occupy the space because you merit it. Be the reason why other women will get similar opportunities tomorrow. Because it is your impact, it is your performance that will convey merit and not your gender. But having said that, there are also qualities and attributes that we as women have. They are God-given, and which I think we should capitalize to good effect. And so I'm not saying don't bring your feminism into the play, but do so in the context of building yourself and building your teams professionally and in a mature way. And what sort of attributes am I talking about? And I say this from experience. I believe as a woman and as women, and particularly as leaders, women leaders, we have better abilities to plan ahead as opposed to being spontaneous. Men tend to be very spontaneous. I think we have attributes of being good at multitasking. How many of us are caregivers, are home builders, we lead teams, to name but 3 things that you probably are doing simultaneously. I believe as women, we are more sensitive than our male colleagues, and that we are more compassionate. So I'm encouraging us to bring those attributes. Some of them are emotional, some of them are just God-given. Bring them to the workplace and make them work for you. Make them project your merit, not necessarily your gender. And then finally, I wanted to talk about what you do today will determine your future. So things don't just happen. You know, as Tiger Woods, I think, was quoted as saying, he doesn't just play good golf, or when he did, by accident. He works hard at it. Equally, the footballers in Qatar at the moment are not there by accident. They've worked really hard to earn their space. Unfortunately, Kenya is not in Qatar. You can ask yourself why. Equally, our Kenyan athletes who perform exceedingly well on the global stage don't do so by accident. They work really hard to deliver the performance that they do. So I would urge you as a leader to plan your future and be purposeful about the journey that you want to tread. It just won't happen by accident. You need the support of others. You need the support of your family. You need the support of your manager. You need their buy-in. You need their support perhaps to get training. You need their support perhaps to get specific work experience. And by the way, don't tire engaging. In my experience, I encountered situations where my female colleagues will tell me, yeah, but you know, I have to go. I have to go for my prenatal checkup, and I've discussed this with my manager, and he knows that I need to do this every month. But it seems like I have to say it to him each time. He forgets that I told him last month I need to do this. That's precisely the point. Take your own destiny into your own hands. Don't expect others to do it for you. Don't expect others to remember what is important for you. Make it your business to remind them because it is important for you. And by reminding them, you help them support you. It is not a sign of weakness. It is a sign of being in control. It's a sign of knowing what you want and going for it. And so as I conclude, which brings me to the very final slide, we are all leaders, whatever your grade, whatever your role. They say, and this has been my experience, when people leave, they don't leave an organization, they leave the manager. People don't leave an organization, they leave the manager. Be the leader that people want to work for and to work with, and want to do so for a long time because they have something to gain, and hopefully so do you. Those are the points I thought we would reflect upon. 30 minutes goes really quick. I did do more than 30 minutes. I had promised to do 30 minutes, but there we are. And I hope that leaves you with something that we can build on as we listen to any comments, any views you may have. I don't know it all. There may be something I said that just didn't make sense, that didn't align with your own experience. Very welcome to hear from you. Thank you, Christine. Back to you.
Thank you so much, Anne. Thank you for the valuable nuggets. I was writing notes like crazy and self-respecting, introspecting at the same time. Ladies, I'll just quickly go through some of the highlights, and then I hope that you have questions to ask. I see some comments in the chat. I'll read through those. Anne brought out some really good points in, talking about you can be anything you want to be. I guess that means you just need to apply yourself. I loved that she said we need to put ourselves in the shoes of our teammates and project the leader we would want. And learning from mistakes. Learning comes from different angles. How do you offload baggage? This was a big one for me. I am typically the person that will go from work to home. And it's true, you have to find, I think that as women, we think that because we share a lot, we're offloading baggage. But how much have we invested in, social activities? So that was a good one. As a leader, you must believe in your vision and trust your gut. And then I liked that we need to, as leaders, be able to apportion credit to our teams and not just, take all the credit. And then again, accountability. Are we taking blame for our shortcomings? And do you take time to acknowledge your team? Respect, this is a good one. Respect is definitely earned, not given. And what is your leadership style? I think this is one we can all reflect on and really have some self-awareness and hopefully honest speak regarding, do you give respect or do you just expect respect? Yeah. And then are you investing enough time to learn what makes your team tick? Are you a leader of substance? That I guess is my Christmas holiday, to go and sit down and really think about my leadership style and what am I putting out? And then are we staying true to self? All of us have our authentic, we're all unique, but are we authentic is the question. Are you reliable? Do you keep your word? So what are you displaying? Because you pretty much get what you give. And then positive reinforcement versus negative attention. This was also one that was good for me. I like the way she said, highlight areas of development, not, don't blame people. So choice of words there was, she used those words very well. So, and then the last two were project your merit, not your gender. This, I think, is a big one for us as women, because we always feel like we go in at a disadvantage. And therefore, in a boardroom, you'll always be tempted to sit at the back. No, and you've earned your space from merit, not because you're female. So when you're in there, command your space. So that was good. And if you ask men, Anne, they really don't think there's any such thing as multitasking. But we women know it exists. So that was a good one. And it belongs to those who today. So what is the purpose? It's driven, and I'm working a journey. Leverage support. You know.
Christine, you're muted. You're muted.
Have I been muted this whole time?
No, just the last
okay.
bit.
Just the last part, yeah. Bit. So earn your space, earn the right to prioritize what's important to you. That was, I think, a really powerful way to end the conversation. And thank you, Anne. Ladies, for me, this was powerful. I hope you enjoyed it too. I have seen something in the chat that I wanted to, and someone says, Jacqueline says, valuable point on not downplaying the female attributes, but using them as strengths, projecting the merit. Joanne said, wow. Kathure said, yes, ma'am. I'm not sure what they were responding to. And then Christine says, thanks for the invite. Kathure says, thank you, my dear boss, Anne, that was profound. Ryle says, thank you. So ladies are really grateful for the conversation. Then Pauline says, thank you very much. Your destiny is in your hands. Patricia, thank you, Anne, most appreciated. Flosha, I hope I pronounced your name right, says, wow, profound session, enlightening, candid conversations that we must have and must be said. Thank you for the pearls. Anne said, thank you for sharing such profound nuggets. Very beautifully shared. Thank you, Anne. Don't leave an organization. People don't leave an organization. They leave bad managers. That was spot on. Wow, quite insightful. Many thanks for sharing. Anne is a great orator. Thank you for this presentation. There's a compliment, Anne. Profound. So here's a question. How do team members feel? How do your team members feel after a conversation with you? So maybe I'll let you answer that first, because there's another question after that.
Okay, so how do my team members feel after a conversation with me? Is that the question?
Yes.
Was that the question?
Yes, okay. That was a question.
Okay, just please let me know who it was from. Because I would like Christine. The person to just Christine, yeah?
Yeah,
all
Christine,
right, thank you.
Yeah.
Okay, Christine, please amplify your question, because I think there's probably it's a more loaded question than how it's come through. Christine, please amplify your question. And if you can unmute yourself.
Unmute your mic, yeah.
Yeah.
If you can just unmute and have a conversation.
Please.
Christine. Is she there?
I'm sure there are many Christines here.
Christine
Are you still
G
there,
here.
Christine?
Okay, while we wait on Christine, can I move to the next question?
Well, no, in fact, let me try and answer it.
Okay.
And I'm actually gonna answer. I'm gonna answer it by asking Kathure to chime in, since I now know that there's
She's
at
on
least
the call.
one person that I know on the call. And perhaps you can amplify that question, because you know me. Amplify that question, Kathure.
Okay, I think you saw my comment in the chat. I should have said not good boss, but good leader. To be honest, Anne, you're the person who's inspired me to be where I am. I saw your work ethic. My interactions with you were always on a point of professionalism, respect, genuine respect, and certainly, listening. And those are the things I took away, that you can actually rise up the ladder because of what you are, what you can do, and what you're perceived to be. This respectful, respectable person. And that is what I really took away. So Anne is one of the women leaders I truly look up to. So that's what I can say about you, Anne Eriksson. So there is your tribute.
Thanks,
Oh,
Kature.
thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Great.
But maybe I think what we should perhaps take away from that question is, as opposed to me answering the question verbatim, it is to play it back to this team. How do your team feel after you've had a session with them? Do they go away energized, wanting to deliver what it is that you're aspiring to deliver? Or are they like, oh, another one? Because what you will get is just what you will you reap what you sow. And so I think it is very important that you find a way, a mechanism to not praise just for the sake of praising, but reinforce what's good, but develop people so that they can become the better of themselves from your influence, from your guidance, from your coaching. It doesn't need to be bottling. It can be enlightening. It can be hopeful. That's what I would say. Back to Christine.
Okay, then there was one more. There's another question. So question on the team aspect. The struggle is when you cannot articulate your own accomplishments and input to the detriment of your career progression. How do you strike the right balance in not downplaying your own achievements?
That's a really interesting one. And you're right, you're often part of a team. But I also feel that there can be something personal about a relationship between you as an individual and your manager. And you owning a space where you candidly engage with your manager to get feedback. How am I doing? Is this what you expected from me? Or I would really have wanted to be exposed in this particular area because it is an area that I haven't been involved in. So that although you're part of a team, carve out a space for yourself that is not selfish, but that is very purposeful. So you're being deliberate about engaging with your manager, maybe engaging with your team members, so that you achieve your objectives as part of the team objectives. So that at the end of the day, yes, the team achieves, but that you also are clear about the role you've played in that achievement or not achieving it. I don't know if I'm making sense. And whoever asked that question, please unmute your mic and let's have a conversation.
Hi, Anne. I hope you can hear me.
Hi,
Hello,
Patricia.
my name is. Hi, please feel free to call me Pat. That was very impactful. And maybe just to expound on it, because and I have been for about maybe 10 or so years a leader. And actually the converse has been true. I have put my team ahead of myself with the greatest humility. And the feedback I then got was that I was not articulating my own accomplishments, sorry. And I've had to relearn how to do that. So I think my concern around what you said around putting the team first is that I don't know whether my fellow women here suffer from the same. We might need to also highlight that some people do struggle with putting themselves forward and putting their accomplishments forward. So one hack I've actually developed, and I would like to hear your thoughts, Anne, is to speak of my accomplishments in third person, so that then I'm able to not feel like I am being selfish or self-promoting, which I also struggle with. I was told I'm not good at self-promoting, and I was like, I don't think I want to be good at self-promoting, but I think it's the socialization aspect. We've grown up, at least my generation, I'm about 44, with the concept that, you know, you die to self, even our Christian beliefs sometimes come into play. So I just want your reflections on that, because you're very accomplished in your career, and how to strike that balance between, yes, promoting your team, making sure that their accomplishments are recognized, but not also then hanging back and downplaying your own achievements, because I've had to learn that very late in my career. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Patricia. I really appreciate that. You know, I will reflect on situations where we've had interviews. And if I'm interviewing a candidate and they're talking about we, us, you know, it's all plural and it's all team, you know, that will not get that individual very far. So Patricia, you're right. You've got to be very clever about how you convey, how you project. I think there is a way that as a leader, you can communicate the output of your team without necessarily taking all the credit, without having to individually own that space. But it would come through that your leadership is what resulted in the output. But I agree with you that there is the other attribute that I referred to about being sensitive that can probably also bring us down as women, where we overplay that team, family, call it family, card too much to your own personal detriment. So you need to choose, it's difficult to be prescriptive. I think you'd earn more mileage as an individual if you project your team well and you come out well as a team, as opposed to projecting yourself as an individual well to the detriment of your team. But you do it in a purposeful manner. So it depends on the environment. There'll be the environment where you can speak about you yourself, and there'll be the environment where it's better to speak about yourself in the context of the team. And you know, the experience you have and the real example that you gave of how you have managed and learned to navigate by speaking in the third person is a great one. You know, I've learned something new from you today. So I think it's difficult to be prescriptive. You know, choose your battles, but more often than not, I think as a leader, your leadership will come through if in fact your team moves forward. If that makes sense, Patricia.
Yes, it does. And I think what I'm picking is it's situational. So that's, yeah, that's quite useful. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Patricia. Thank you, Anne. So we also have someone loves that you say, do not get tired of reminding others what is important to you. Nice takeaway. And someone agrees that that was a gem. And then I like the advice on project work and not gender. Brilliant. Thank you, Anne. Great insights. Great presentation. Okay, that's a thank you to Christine for organizing this insightful conversation. Thank you, Roslyn, for organizing it. Thank you. And then my takeaway, you can become anything you want to be. So go for what you want. Don't expect others to know what's important to you. Profound. Thank you, Anne, for offloading baggage. Need to work on that. So I guess Christine was recapping her take home because it was mentioned in the presentation. It is a question that every leader should ask themselves. So then there's one here that what is your thoughts around the common phrase, women are their worst enemies? That's a good one. That was asked by Ryle.
Okay.
Oh,
Thank you, Ryle.
So before you continue, ladies, we have time is actually up, but I'll add an additional 10 minutes just so we can get through. We can really get a lot out of Anne. So let's just be cognizant of time. Thanks.
Okay, thank you. Women are their own worst enemies. That's an interesting one. You know, we did talk about project merit, not gender. Nobody's really interested in, and, I had a rough day last night. I had a rough night yesterday because my baby, couldn't sleep. There's a board meeting today. That board meeting needs to happen. But at the same time, you are who you are because of that family that you came from. And so own your space. Don't try to be superhuman. If you can't actually come to work today at 8 o'clock because you just need another hour or two to catch some sleep because you didn't sleep last night, phone in, ask your manager. Just say to your manager, I need 2 hours, before I can come in. You'll make up for that time. Try not to be superhuman. The other is, to be honest, sometimes when you don't share, people don't know that you have an issue. So they don't know how to help you. They don't even know that you need help. So you can be your own worst enemy by not sharing with your manager, with your team member, that I have this situation and I just need this level of understanding. That doesn't mean that you bring your whole baggage to the office. No, it means you be professional about it and you be authentic and real about it. You're a mother, you're a caregiver, you're whoever you are you. Don't kill yourself. You're not superhuman. If you're expectant and you're having issues with your health, yeah, that's fact. That's real. Engage with your manager, engage with your colleague. If they're human, and I hope we as leaders are human, they will understand, they will support it. You know why? It is not a permanent condition. You know why? You could be their sister, you could be their spouse, you could be their mother. You know what? You as a leader, you could be in that situation. So I always believe that we need to put ourselves in the shoes of the other party. So I think you can be your own worst enemies by, first of all, not being deliberate to look after yourself, not being deliberate to speak up, not being deliberate to ask for help, not being deliberate to own the space. And so I'm saying that the workplace is better for having a balanced workforce, men and women, and therefore do not assume that you become a man overnight because now you are in banking and finance. No, you are who you are. You are a woman. The other point is, if you're a woman leader and you have women colleagues, please, please, please be the number one proponent, be the number one supporter. Some of these things we talk about, they're easily understood by fellow women. Are you doing so? If you're not, then I would ask the question, are you the leader that you want to be? I hope that makes sense, Christine.
Absolutely, it does. I like the be deliberate to put yourself first. Because if you're taking care of yourself, then everything else falls in place. And most of the time we don't do that. So I like that. So Kathure asks, did you struggle with the imposter syndrome? How did you overcome it? And I have 3 more questions after that, which I want us to get to. Should I read them out and then you can answer them?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So then Dr. Duke says, how do women break the glass ceiling in a traditional male space despite being recognized for being hardworking? What should women do? Abdia says, truly inspiring session. Thank you, Christine and Team KBA for the invitation. Feeling enriched. I celebrate you and Eriksson. How would you describe your leadership style over the years? And then let me see if there are any more. Yes, so Millicent asks, she says, Anne, very insightful sharing. How have you dealt with, sorry, my screen is doing its own things. How have you dealt with sacrifices made to gain entry into your desired career space, e.g. reduced salary, secondment to another country? And then the last one is from Rael Mukiti, and she says, hi, were you always eloquent? Is this something you had is it something you had to learn? I believe that forms part of the brand. Yeah.
Okay, thank you, Christine, and thank you, team, for the various questions. There are many, but we'll do our best to answer them. Dealing with the imposter syndrome, how do women break the glass ceiling in what is predominantly a male-dominated space? I'll probably take those two together, and I would say that, you know what, you don't owe anybody any apologies. Own your space, claim what is rightfully yours, and don't shy from doing so. If others try to take credit for what it is you have done, do not allow it to happen. If others try to put you down, do not allow that to happen. And so what do I mean? I don't mean, roll up your sleeves and have a fist fight. Some of us are so small, we would be trodden upon and pulverized if we attempted to do that. Just use your brain, use your mouth. That's all you need to do. But own your space. In terms of the glass ceiling, of course, there is a glass ceiling, but I would also perhaps challenge us to step back and ask ourselves, might this also be of our own making? Why do we talk of a glass ceiling? If you want to get there, wherever that there is, probably your male colleague also wants to do the same. Will they ever talk about glass ceiling? I don't think they do. So I think there is also a role we need to play as individuals, as leaders, as parents, as aunties, as whoever, to help ourselves also change the narrative. Sometimes you can say it and say it often enough that you believe it. So I have reached a point where I believe, from my experience, men are equal to women in terms of ability. I will go as far as saying, in my professional career, some of the best performers I ever had as managers, as technical experts, were women. So what is a glass ceiling in that sort of situation? Yes, there are things that come in the way because we have all these other things that we want to juggle to make us whole, to make us who we are. But let's navigate through that with a very clear vision and aim in mind. What sacrifices did you have to face to get what you wanted? You know, in one of my talking points, I talked about being, I think, what did I say? You can become anything you want to be, but that the future belongs to those who work for it today. So it won't happen overnight. And in my earlier years, as I was cutting my teeth in the field of accounting, finance, and consulting, there are things I just couldn't do. One, I didn't have the time. Two, I realized that if I needed to achieve this, I needed to give up the other. So yes, I probably didn't, do as much night clubbing as some of my friends did, but we eventually got there. But one thing I have tried very hard to do, and maybe I wasn't successful, is I really did try to balance, in terms of making friends, in terms of keeping friends. Some of my oldest friends today are friends that I went to primary school with. So I think you need to make choices so that if we talk of sacrifices, you're doing them, in a purposeful manner. You have deliberately made those choices.
She's muted.
I've unmuted her. I don't know who muted her. Deliberately made those choices is the last we heard.
Okay, did somebody mute me then?
Yeah, I think, I don't know how that happened.
Okay, deliberately making choice, is that?
Yeah.
Okay. So deliberately making those choices, but, being purposeful about it. How would you describe your leadership style? I think I'm firm. I think I'm a leader that, or I'm a person that I will not tolerate mediocrity, but I will support. I will be honest. I'll be candid. I will highlight where action needs to be taken, but I will support you, and I will be with you to the end. But demanding. I think I work hard. I expect others to do the same. But I think I'm one that will also respect personal space. I respect personal space. As for eloquence, I can only say thank you.
A compliment, a good one. Yeah. So, Caroline, yes, we will be sharing the recording. Julia says this is a great conversation and needs to be held regularly. Thank you so much. Julia, yes, I agree. We're hoping that we'll have some physical sessions so that you also meet the speakers in person next year. And then own your space. That is my takeaway. Claim what is rightfully yours. Love this. Then Anne Mashara says you are an inspiration. Kindly be sharing those rich nuggets more often, probably on Twitter, on your Twitter handle. Sometimes it's all one needs to lighten up. Thanks for the session. Sadar says, project your merit and not your gender, quite profound. Thank you for the wonderful session. And Jacqueline says, great insights. You're indeed a role model and pace setter. Firm and principle confirmed. That's Kathure. And Millicent says, and you're firm, but approachable at the same time. And Patricia says, love the affirmation. And I cannot see the rest of my messages. Oh, okay. Love the affirmation from those you have worked with. Then Pauline asks, when is the next session? Merry Christmas, ladies. Shazad says, work hard and respect personal space. Fantastic, a must practice. I can add that your soul is not up for sale. It's yours. Your insights are so powerful. Thank you. So thank you, Anne Eriksson, one of the biggest supporters of women in KCB. As a board member, keep championing for us. The messages now are coming fast and furious. So Jackie, you're very welcome. And ladies, I have to stop here. When we picked Anne, we thought this would be a great way to end the year, a great speaker. And we hope she'll come back and share more nuggets with us. For those who were able to log in, thank you very much. We hope that this sets the pace for you as you close the year and as you start 2023 when you're goal setting. As a leader, may you go out and flourish and build great teams. I'd just like to wish you a Merry Christmas and thank you very much for taking the time to be with us this afternoon. Thank you.
Thank
Thank you,
bye-bye.
and thank you all. Bye-bye then.
Bye.
Bye.
Thanks,
Bye.
everyone. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Good evening, everyone.
Bye bye.
Thank you. Goodbye. Goodbye.